Well, welcome to the show. Today we're talking about how to invent a better snap trap, better mouse trap. In this case, is a rat trap. Talk a little bit about the journey on how we got here. I live in a community in Dallas called Southlake, Texas, and I was at lunch one day having a salad, and I started a conversation with the person next to me, Steve here, and oddly enough, since then we've probably seen each other at least 50 times at lunch or dinner. It's a small community, even though it's in a big town. And he started telling me about what he did for a living, and it really piqued an interest because I obviously at VM Products, we innovate, we're driven to innovate, and I've been wanting to innovate a snap trap. And in doing that, some of the challenges of starting that process is taking and learning about the engineering of snap traps in general. Before you start with a single feature, what are the benefits or the engineering features of a snap trap? So Steve tells me what he does, and I'm going to let you tell the crowd here what you do here at NVision, and that sparked our business relationship and our friendship.
Well, thank you, Ethan. What we do here is very high precision measurement. We use lasers, light, CT X-ray machines to get the highest precision measurement of components. We take all those measurements and we turn them into a three-dimensional CAD model in the computer. The other thing we do is take measurements and compare them to a 3D CAD models to tell people if they made the products correctly. So those are the major things. Some of the more interesting projects we've done is we actually got to scan the sniper rifle of Chris Kyle. I talked to his wife. She was very kind to let us have that for a statue honoring him. And then we also scanned the entire statue once it was done so they could make replicas of it.
That's interesting. So like what would be your typical customer? Like you've got 100 customers. What's your typical customer?
Typical customers, the Fortune 500s is most of our clients, but we do everything from fiber optic connectors to power plants. So we have different equipment for different industries. And with fiber optic connectors, they're incredibly small. And so to get the tooling right, we've helped many manufacturers measure the resulting connector and then modify the tool to get it just to where they need it. Also, we do a lot of work for the Air Force and military in general. So we've actually created scanning equipment that can measure an entire warcraft fighter to check for any defects or things that weren't made correctly.
Interesting. And Lockheed's here in Dallas.
We do a lot of work with them.
Wow, what an incredible business. How did you start this business? Like that seems like people want to be a lawyer, they want to be a firefighter. Who wants to reverse engineer things to the precision of the hair follicle? Like how'd you figure this out?
Well, I had two former partners that came to my wedding back in 1990. And they brought what looked like a maze. It was a bunch of just squiggly lines. And people are saying, I can see numbers in there. And, you think you're being punked. And I spent 2 days, like right before the wedding, I could see numbers. And it's an optical illusion. And here's one of our books that shows you. And creating these were done with 3D laser scanners. So this was a huge fad for about 3 years. We went all around the world. We were on TV shows.
Can I see that?
Look, there's a spaceship. That is so cool.
Where is it?
Yeah, absolutely. We were in newspapers. As they say, your 15 minutes of fame. But the fad ran out, and after 3 years, we're only 30, so it's a little young to retire. So we said, what can we do with lasers? And we saw that people had a market for 3D scanning and people needed to measure things. So our early days was a lot of movie work. We worked with Disney and Pixar and different people. And then that ameliorated into the engineering sector because the movies didn't need it in the end. We were about to do Shrek and they ended up doing it completely digitally. So that was the thing that started. And then we just started making better lasers and better software. That all led to where we are today.
Wow, this is really, really interesting. So this is this right here, this figure 1 and figure 2 describes how the human eye sees this.
So it's incredibly hard to teach people to look through a solid object. But what you're doing is just like you're looking out a window. And when you do that and you shift the pixels just slightly left or slightly right, It creates a 3D image in our brain. So it's funny, the hardest people to get to see it are attorneys. And then when you're doing trade shows, the number one question, you do have sight in both eyes, because you do need two eyes, a stereoscopic vision. So absolutely need two working
That seems like a
eyes.
whole nother show to talk about how people see things. I don't think that really comes up very often. I never even thought about it.
It's true.
If anybody knows anything about VM, we are driven to innovate. We make high quality products that are valuable to our customers, but we are good marketers. We like to market, and so when I see this, what goes through my mind is a series of Hallusion, if I'm saying this right, Hallusion art. We have some really great renders of mosquitoes and snakes and rodents, and like, how would we do something that if we made a poster and put it on the wall of one of our pest control partners, how would we go about that?
So you can actually do it with any artwork. We did a Barks root beer campaign. We've done Coca-Cola. We did Warner Brothers. We did a bunch. So the software, you have to create the artwork you're going to put over it, and then in the background is actually a 3D model. So everything, that's what led us into 3D models. We were using our scanners just in-house to make the posters. But yeah, we make 3D models. We then position them in 3D space, and then when we run a program with the artwork we want on top of it. So like we still have some Marilyn Monroe's and some Elvis Presley stuff, and in the background it pops up. But it was a 3D model. We used to have sculptors sculpting, and then we'd 3D laser scan them. Then we'd run the program.
Well, so I think we got another project.
Good.
So my CMO's here. We're going to do a rodent. We have a viper snake that has the viper logo on the snake, and we have our own copyrighted mosquito that we use.
Okay.
And I would love to do a poster for each. And so I put our brand at the bottom, the VM Products brand, and let people look at these posters and see if they can figure out which one's which.
Great.
I can't wait. That's going to be fun. So for all you people out there, be looking for the Hallusion posters from NVision with the VM Products proprietary rodent, mosquito, and viper snake. Can't wait. Well, I want to take a step back on how this journey fortuitously happened when we met for lunch. Sometime before that, a couple months before that, the M and VM had bought a building in Burleson, Texas, and they were going to remodel the building. And the contractor that he had hired to remodel the building called him, and anybody who knew Danny knew he was one of the happiest people you've ever met. He had a great energy about him on how he would approach things. He was always very colorful when he would walk up. And so he walked up and he's like, "Ethan, I got something to show you." And I said, "Well, what do you got?" And he's like, "We just pulled this snap trap out of this building in Burleson, Texas, this one right here in the middle. And we started playing with it. We looked at it, and there was a date on this snap trap of 1906, 1908. So this snap trap is 120-something years old, 120 years old. And it really got me going in my brain, like, how can we invent a better mousetrap? Mousetraps have been around for so long. It's such a tagline, right? I feel like we kind of invented a lot of better mousetraps at VM with our Easy Secured, which is the original weighted bait station, and I could go on and on and on. So knowing that the engineering was going to be the most challenging part, and you said something that really matters, precision. You have to have precision engineering to create a better mousetrap. So that sparked the conversation of working with Steve, working with NVision on creating this better mousetrap. Of course, we have an engineer, Jay. He does a phenomenal job. You met Jay several times, worked with him. He's got a great creativity about him, which is not always standard with people who design parts, right? They design parts, very precision parts, but they're not overly creative. They can be, but they're not always. He's very creative. And so we started our due diligence of what we needed to do. I called you. We've got this snap trap. So I come in here. This has been several years ago now. I come in and and we start with just some snap traps. We picked a bunch of snap traps we could go through, and you started reverse engineering them. Of course, what we ended up with was the Viper rat snap trap, which we've already had great success with, really good feedback from our customer base. But you started reverse engineering the snap traps for us and working with Jay for the finer points of a better mousetrap. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have a lot of ways to measure, as I said, and on the different components, we use both laser and our X-ray system so we can get incredibly fine. So our laser is about plus or minus 2,000. For the audience, that's about a human hair, for those of you who haven't. And
I clearly do, and you clearly don't.
There we go. So on our X-ray system, we're a tenth of a human hair. So when we're measuring things, we know exactly what they are, where they are, and then you turn that into a 3D model, and then we can explode it to look at every component and say, what could be better?
That's really cool. So in that process, Steve introduced me to HBM Sensor Company, and HBM Sensor Company creates leads mainly in the aviation business, where you have a particular sensor that has a high precision, and it does one thing. Basically, each sensor does one thing, and we created and built a snap trap measurement tool through this process where we measured spring strength, we measured impact strength of the snap trap, distance to deploy the trigger, and newtons of pressure to deploy the trigger, which in itself was a project that Jay had to help work with the HBM sensors, but we appreciate that because that really got us to this point. It's a very impressive tool that we use to gauge all the competition. Like there's a lot of snap traps. We keep snap traps at the office, and we probably have 40 different versions of snap traps from around the world that people have made, including this snap trap. Started with that. We kept playing with all the different traps that we played with, and what we came up was the Viper. We're very proud of the Viper rat snap trap. It's been well received in the marketplace, and some of the things we did with the Viper, we incorporated it into our rodent stations, our Easy Secured, and our Easy Clean. We have added plugs. We call these retainer plugs, where we lock the trap into the station. It's a good trap, the Viper, and we wouldn't have done it without you.
Well, we appreciate your business and hope we can do more.
Well, we've done a few other projects, and I'm sure some people will see some things in the future from VM. Like I said, we're driven to innovate. We love taking the feedback from our customers and finding the needs in the marketplace and creating valuable products. So I think a good way to end this, unless you have something else to say.
No,
Let's see if this 100-year-old trap works.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm kind of scared, actually. I want to see what others. Oh, it works, but it didn't break the pencil. But it still works. After all this time, that snap trap works. So that's the reason why people talk about inventing a better mousetrap. I think it's the elusive thing of inventing a better mousetrap. In this case, we definitely invented a better snap trap with the Viper rat snap trap by VM Products.
Well done, Ethan.